Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Guilty as Charged. I am your host, DreadnautX. With me as always is Travolta, Texas, other known as Chips. On tonight's episode, we discuss the September 20th, 7th episode, 1994 of Hardcore TV. This episode, we get some great video packages. Sabu, Too Cold Scorpio, and an amazing Shane Douglas one. Plus, we build up and heat up our feuds between Cactus Jack, Mikey Whipwreck, and the Public Enemy. Dreamer versus Sandman are coming to a head this weekend as an I Quit match. So much in this episode. Let's get to it. Episode 5 starts now.
Extreme Championship.
Hello everyone and welcome to Extreme Championship Wrestling!
The franchise, Shane Douglas, is the man who ignites the new flame of the sport of professional wrestling.
Prepare yourself, big boy, because I'm Taz, the world television champion. Beat me if you can, Bam Bam. Survive if I let you.
So tonight, let the new era begin. The era of the sport of professional wrestling. The era of the franchise. The era of the E.C.W.
E.C.W. We're gonna give you the most bang for your buck. We're gonna break every effing rule in the business. And for that, I promise you, we are guilty as charged.
Alright, here we go. How's it going, man?
Hey, not so bad. I'm here, ready to talk about, some more of our good old wrestling and good old adverts. Although, unfortunately, as a spoiler for this week, I have to reveal that there aren't that many new exciting adverts.
Yeah, we're kind of stuck with the same old adverts this time.
Yeah, I mean, I assume at some point we're going to get a really good selection of new ads, but this is not that time. I mean, I thought the Ford adverts were coming to an end, but that sale, it's still trucking along.
Yeah, we gotta put up with the Ford ads for just a little bit longer till that sale comes to an end.
I mean, I can live with that, but we haven't. I did think we might need a little bit of new stuff. Not that I'm getting tired of seeing Solar Flex adverts or anything.
Yeah, so this week we're discussing the September the 27th episode of E.C.W. Hardcore TV. So we start off this week's episode, and we have this Dreamer promo. He's kind of talking in it looks like he's in the back room of a stripper setup with all the lights.
Yeah, it's a very weird setup. I didn't really know what they were going for there. I guess it was just an easy place to record it, but I mean, it kind of works. Tommy Dreamer is still just great at doing these sort of promos of being quite passionate about his whole feud with the Sandman and the I Quit match and that he won't quit. And I mean, it does feel like Tommy Dreamer is a character who shouldn't quit, is my main thought going into their match next week.
Yeah, I mean, after that caning spot where he, took 10 or 11 lashings of that and still didn't quit, for him to turn around now and quit in an I Quit match would be pretty, that'd be some crappy WWE booking there.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think we'll be getting that. If I had to predict what's going to happen next week, if we were making predictions on a show that happened, 25 years ago or something, I wouldn't be predicting that Dreamer quits. But I don't think it makes sense to do predictions for something that's already happened. That would be kind of weird. But no, it's nice to see Dreamer. Build up to this match. This sort of feels like the most important thing we're building at the moment in our E.C.W. sort of episodes.
Yeah, for sure. He cuts a good promo here and tells Sam he's going to do horrifying things to him and make him say, "I quit." So and that's leads up to our I Quit match coming up the following weekend after the show. So.
Yeah, there was a lot of build in this episode in general for these two shows that are sort of coming up over the weekend, and every time they talk about these two shows, the cards just look ridiculously stacked. Like there's so many awesome matches. I'm kind of hoping they're able to cram as much of them in as possible in our next couple of episodes.
Yeah, it makes you think that this two shows is like some type of pay-per-view. The way they're like building these storylines and having these awesome cards, like you would almost think it was a supercard or a pay-per-view they were building towards.
Definitely, yeah. Like, I mean, these cards that they're building towards feel like I want to be able to watch the full thing from start to finish of both of these shows because there's just so many cool matchups. Like we've got matches with like Taz on, I think, at least one or maybe both of the shows. You've got Sabu on a show. I think Sabu's on both of the shows as well, who we've not seen much of yet, but we hear a little about today. And then you've got Too Cold Scorpio who's facing Doink, and then the night after facing our champion. And there's just so much sort of cool content that feels like it's coming from this bit, and I assume we'll at least see clips of quite a lot of it. So it's going to be good.
Yeah, it's definitely a couple shows that I would love to have gone to see, that's for sure.
Oh, damn right.
So then we go into our first match here. It's, Sandman warming up for his upcoming match against Tommy Dreamer, and he goes against a very good-looking Hack Myers.
Yeah, so Hack Myers is an interesting looking gentleman in that he's a very heavy set man, but he also has almost has like a strip of hair at the top of his head that's like Paul Heyman's later ponytail hair. But then he also has like huge like sideburns that have not been cut, if maybe for his entire life. And he's an incredibly interesting looking man, and he seems to also be wearing like leopard print pants, which just the whole look is incredible.
Yeah, he's got quite the haircut here, and it's like you said, it's almost like a ponytail at the top of his hair that kind of flip flops back and forth. I called it the ultimate comb over.
Yeah, that's totally it. It's like a comb over, but some bits are shaven, and then there's really big sideburns that make no sense. He certainly went for a unique look here, and I wonder how it felt outside of wrestling to look like that, because I imagine the main reason for that was surely to stand out in a wrestling ring. People would remember the guy with the mental hair.
Yeah, like all the hair that he's missing on the sides of his head, he makes up for in his sideburns.
Yeah, utterly bizarre, but always nice to see a weird new character like Hack Myers. I wonder where Hack Myers is now. I always want to find out where all of these ECW stars that you just can't even have imagined existing, like where they got to in the end. Like I want to know if he's like got a desk job somewhere or something.
Yeah, I wonder if he's got the same comb over.
I hope so. I hope he just fully lived that throughout his entire life. He realized he could never go back.
Yeah, he's living the gimmick 24/7.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's you think about all these ECW, the actual stars themselves, like Dreamer, Sandman, RVD, Taz. But then it's like, you know, we always see them, they're kind of older now and doing indies and kind of like getting picked off one by Father Time. But it's like, what about these B-tier stars like these Dino Sendoff and Hack Myers and Surfer Dude that we saw last time? Like, whatever happens to these guys?
They're the ones I'm interested in. They're the people I want to find out more about, just how things went after that. I wonder if any of them, like, I wonder if there's any who you saw later on in, like, maybe an early TNA and stuff like that. It'd be interesting to have a look at. That's probably something I need to do at some point. I'll come in with a recap of what happened to all our favorite B and C tier level ECW stars.
Yeah, we need like a documentary style where we kind of go back and find these hidden gems that we've come across.
Definitely, that's exactly what I want. That's all I ever want. But yeah, I suppose then we did get to see the match, which, I mean, I've always heard that Sandman was one of those guys that was pretty limited in the ring and, you know, made up for it with the character. But he was kind of more impressive than I expected him to be here.
Yeah, when you look back at these, I don't know if it's just because we're looking back like a bit of an earlier look at him, and kind of as the years go on, he gets a bit trashier. But man, he's got like a pretty good looking standing drop kick here, and he does a couple moves that don't look too bad at all.
Yeah, the dropkick was like something I specifically wrote down as well. Where like he does, like,
same
this
here.
awesome standing dropkick, and then he like almost like backflips out of it to land, and it's like it's sort of insane, and it just entirely caught me off guard because I was not ready for it.
Yeah, for sure. I had the same thing written down because I was like, "Oh man, that was a very good dropkick."
Yeah, but obviously Sandman being Sandman, he has Woman by his side who, you know, is very much intent on interfering, and after a few attempts of interference, we eventually get the cane given to Sandman, the referee distracted, and, you know, a victory of going into the match with Dreamer, which I think we all expected. I wasn't expecting the shock Hack Myers victory.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got to keep the Sandman strong before he goes against Dreamer, right? So
definitely. It may have been, you know, a predictable person to win the match, but it made a lot of sense. You couldn't do it any other way.
See, that's the thing. It's like you would look back at these episodes, and it's like, as a wrestling fan, you watch, and it's like, okay, well, you know, he's gonna go against Dreamer this weekend on the weekend shows. Obviously, we're gonna have him win here and stay strong, but it's like these days, you can't even like assume that's gonna happen because they do such like odd booking, like making their champions lose. Like, can you imagine like Shane Douglas just losing on a show like this to like the Surfer Dude?
Yeah, no, not at all. And like, it's just it's sensible booking, and that's something that, especially in, you know, mainstream WWE wrestling now, we're not seeing and haven't seen for quite a while. But yeah, it's nice to see it here. It's just a lot of fun to watch these matches, and like to see this build where you've had, like, most weeks we've had something to do with these two since the Kane match. We've had, if it not a recap, then a little bit of you know, seeing one of them or the other, and yeah, getting to see this match build it even more and get us ready for next week. I don't know if next week's definitely where we see that match, or if that's just going to be, you know, when the clips will drop of that, because there's so much content coming from these shows, it seems. But it's going to be exciting no matter what. It feels like the first match we've built to and seen kind of the full story of throughout the show.
Yeah, it's good, like, kind of seeing the story as it's building now instead of just kind of getting thrown into it like we were before.
Definitely, yeah. It's nice to be actually joining along for the ride now.
Yeah, it's fair enough. So we get a recap here of the caning that Dreamer took with the hands of Sandman, and the 10 lashings he took.
Yeah, but in true ECW fashion, it's not just a recap of that. It's a recap where it's sort of filmed. It's like a film strip diagonally across the screen, and you have like three you have like 3 views, well, the same sort of camera shot, but 3 times across the screen, and there's weird jazz music in the background that sort of goes in and out depending on how intense the action is, and there's a lot of interesting editing, as all the recaps are here in early ECW. You kind of have to watch them for the editing alone, even if you saw the original stuff.
Yeah, like they do such a odd or different job of like changing things up, and whether it's like the way they're putting together these packages and using different styles of music, or the way they just do the video editing and just have like different videos, the way they look, and they just do a lot of like different things that we're not used to seeing.
Yeah, it's not all necessarily things that I'd say were like good, but it's always interesting.
Just different, yeah. They're just different and like odd things that you just kind of take you out of nowhere, like from the music choices, the jazz stuff, to the film strip, and just having like 20 of the videos on screen at once, and it's just they do quite a weird job of changing things up.
Definitely, but I mean, I think if I was going to pick one type of music to go alongside this, it would not have been jazz. It wouldn't have been jazz that I thought caning and jazz fit together well, but I'll take it. I mean, I'll take all the jazz we can get.
I don't know where the jazz came from, but man, they use it quite a bit in like a lot of their stuff, whether it's like the hotline packages, or just they just have like a heavy use of somebody in the creative team, or Heyman himself. I don't know if he was a big fan of jazz music, but man, they go heavy on the jazz music a lot.
They do, and I mean, I'm all for it. We don't get enough jazz in wrestling nowadays.
Yeah, like maybe it was the only thing that was around that was like free licensed music, was like some kind of jazz music.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I don't know if Paul Heyman was someone who worried that much about licensing.
Yeah, sure enough. That was probably the last thing in his mind for sure.
Yep.
Then we get into our first ads of the night.
Yeah, and I'd like to just quickly announce something to you here, Dread. I'd like you to be aware that this could be your body. This could be your arm, and all the rest of our SolarFlex things. You need to be aware that this could all be your body, and you need to get a SolarFlex as soon as possible. I mean, I know you've probably been aware of SolarFlex for some time now, but maybe this is the time for you to finally go out and buy one, or our listeners.
My SolarFlex is on the way.
Yeah, I knew you'd get there. I knew you'd call that number and get a SolarFlex. I thought it was slowly seeping into your head.
Well, those lips, those flying lips, keep talking to me. So
yeah, no matter what I do online, I can find this SolarFlex ad, but nowhere does there exist a copy of it online where the lips are present. So I can only imagine that they did this weird lip edit on the SolarFlex ad, maybe just for ECW to make it weirder. It's bizarre. It's because I found this advert really quickly online, and most of them you can't because they're really old weird adverts. Right. But yeah, the lips aspect of it, which we don't get on every single one of them, but it's present for about half of them. They don't exist as far as the internet's concerned, apart from on these episodes.
Oh, so the one you found on YouTube did not have the lips?
No, it didn't. The one I found on YouTube was exactly the same. It had all the "this could be your body" and everything else,
but the minus lips
aren't on the video.
That's so weird.
So I don't know where the lips came from, but they are not always there.
But they did make the final cut. That's so weird.
They made the final cut, or at least the final cut for this particular showing.
That is so odd, man.
Yeah. But we don't really have any of the ads that are, any new things to talk about here from this particular ad break. Right. We've got the Fords. They're definitely in the final days of the sale now. We might be at the end of that. Oh. We've got, our favourite jewellery in Carter W. Reed, which, if I'm ever buying jewellery, apparently that's where I have to buy it from.
Yeah. It seems like the only place in Philly to buy good quality jewellery.
Yeah. And of course, you've got the hotline for if you want to try and do a wrestling quiz to win tickets to an ECW show and stuff. I really wonder what that hotline was like, and how often, if you rang it often, which just random ECW guys would pick it up.
Yeah, because like apparently like they had so many guys doing like double duty where like Bubba or Devon were like they were coming up with all the merch, and some other guys were selling the merch, and other guys were manning the hotlines and doing the website, and could imagine who you would get if you called in.
Yeah, it's actually like you'd imagine calling most hotlines where it's costed at however much it is a minute and stuff like that would be just a waste of time. But I feel like calling the ECW hotline would have been one of the few where you could have got something really embarrassing.
Yeah, we need to. I'm gonna get in contact with a friend of mine who he wrestles for a promotion here in town, and he used to go to a lot of ECW shows back in the day. He used to. Nice. He went to the one here that came to like the only time it came to Toronto, and he used to travel down to Buffalo and go to a bunch of the shows there. So might have to get him on one time and get him maybe when we come to a pay-per-view that he's been to, and get his first-hand knowledge. Yeah,
that sounds awesome, man. I'm totally down for that. Maybe a regular thing can be finding people who might have actually had some sort of connection to ECW and seeing who we can talk to. Maybe we need to find Ray Odyssey and he can be on the show.
Okay, we'll put our feelers out there. We'll see if we can get a hold of someone.
Amazing, definitely, because we've got a lot to say about ECW, and if anything, it's just exposing more people to weird ads.
Yeah, for sure. It's $2 for the first minute and 99 cents each additional minute. Does that mean like as you're calling in and like while you're waiting for like to talk to someone, you have to pay?
I have no idea. As someone who's never called a hotline that costs money, because I just don't. I don't foresee myself ever doing that.
Not a wrestling one, anyways.
No, but I don't know. Maybe it starts when you connect, but I don't know. I kind of doubt it. I think you probably just sit there waiting and paying them money.
That's why I was just curious. If you called in, and these days you call into like your cable provider or something, and you're waiting on the phone for like 20 minutes before you talk to someone. You're already at like $50.
Well, yeah. I mean, it wouldn't take long to build up that phone bill. That's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. So we come back from our fabulous ads here, and we get a Too Cold Scorpio cutting a promo here.
Yeah, he cuts the promo just about that he's going to be wrestling Shane Douglas soon, just bigging up their match pretty much, talking about how he's going to be able to take him on, get the title, all that sort of stuff. But it kind of goes into a pretty lengthy video package of just him doing lots of his awesome moves in a lot of situations, and then we kind of had this as a regular theme throughout the show where you had these lengthy video packages where it just showed all these wrestlers doing awesome stuff, and there was usually pretty awesome music on in the background too, one of which I'm sure we'll be spending plenty of time on, but we had the traditional "Oop, there it is" in the background for Too Cold, and I mean, it makes you remember immediately how good he is when you just see clips of all his moves, because he's so innovative and exciting, especially for the time.
Yeah, they keep showing clips of a match with him and Sandman, which I wish we would have gotten to see, because it looks like it was pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. Like that was a lot of the sort of feature of it. I mean, you can see how people were excited about Too Cold Scorpio, because he in I think it was 97, he moved across to WWF for a bit, and it seemed like it was going to be a big deal. And when he was Flash Funk, I believe, and they just sort of wasted him entirely. But
yeah, for sure. Yeah, that seems like total waste of a great charismatic guy, for sure.
Yeah, he's just he's one of those guys where you can the sky's the limit for him. He should have been as good as it got in WWF. Really, he could have been top tier along with Rock and Austin. You can just imagine matches between those guys and how exciting it'd be, and the charismatic promo exchanges and stuff.
Yeah, it's almost like WWE seen a black guy and was just like, let's throw him in some horrible gimmick or something and, not let him live up to his full potential at all.
Yeah, well, it took a long time to get to the point we are now with, Kofi Kingston as champion.
I know. It's just sad to see because, like you said, we see him here on E.C.W. and see how, like, a bright spot he is where it's cutting promos or in the ring, and it's like, it just sucks to see what they did with him when he went over.
Well, yeah, from what we've seen so far, from like the episodes we've covered, he's easily one of like the top 3 guys in the company. He's as like good as it gets, pretty much.
Yeah, for sure. And like to think I seen him in like 2016 or 17, and he was still like the highlight of the show that I went to.
That's crazy. That's really cool though that you got to see him. And, like,
yeah, it's crazy.
He was still so good.
Yeah, and the dude was still doing top rope leg drops. It's crazy.
Nice. That's what you want to see, though.
Yeah, it's bringing out the old hits from like 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah. Undertaker versus Goldberg, that was not.
Oh, don't hurt me. So promo's over. We get to go back into some more ads.
Yeah, we've got more of the pawnbroker side of Carter W. Reed, which we like to flash around all aspects of Carter W. Reed jewelry, that they will also, buy your things while you're destitute, but also sell nice jewelry. So that was fun. and we have the grand return of log home living.
These look like some fabulous log homes.
I tell you what, the more we see this, the more I think a log home's looking pretty good right now.
I agree, man. You see some of these look pretty luxurious inside.
Yeah, I mean, and if only we had the magazine so we knew more about the maintenance, then we could get one.
Yeah, for sure. It's only $20 too. We should order one of these.
Yeah, they're definitely still running it. It's probably just still on like issue like 4,000 at this point.
Maybe. Oh, and then we go into like the second Ford final days of the night.
Yeah, the Ford adverts are a little sad now as well because they're so busy talking about how little time there is left for the Ford sale. We don't even get that much of the music, and I'm ready for it to go. It's I thought I was going to be sad when we lost our Ford adverts, but they're almost outstaying the welcome at this point.
Yeah, I was just waiting to get it over with.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we come back from the ads and we get a recap of Jason versus 2 weeks ago when Jason went against JT Smith, with the help of Dean Malenko, which has been a theme here lately with kind of Jason's muscle getting the better of these opponents before Jason gets his hand on the people.
Yeah. Which, leads us nicely into the recap of the week, of the more recent week against Rockin' Rebel, and Malenko's there, the shooter himself, and doing something to make it an easy victory for Jason. And, I wonder what's going to happen in his match that's actually this week's match. I could never have predicted this.
Yeah, he does this, it's weird. He does this, weird, he just grabs the person's arm, falls to the ground, and it's like, kind of snaps the arm, and it's like it's supposed to I don't know what he's doing there, but he just kind of falls to the ground with the person's arm and tweaks it or something.
It's really weird because I guess it's supposed to be that they've billed Malenko as being the shooter, so
right.
Everything he does is
legit,
somehow more real and brutal. So
yeah.
He does one move and it's they've instantly just entirely destroyed the opponent. They're just so disarmed that they can't have a wrestling match at that point.
Yeah, for sure. They definitely bill him as almost like the MMA shooter type of guy. Everything he does is hard hitting and dangerous. Yeah,
and so yeah, that leads us to this week's match where we have Jason once again taking on all comers. He's such a noble fighting champion, and we see the return of Dino Sendoff.
Yeah, it's our buddy from last weekend.
Yeah, he was the guy who tagged with Chris Kanyon last week, if I recall.
Yes, I think so.
back for some solo action, and but Jason, he has Dean Malenko with him, and you'll never guess what happens next.
Yeah, Dean Malenko hits this weird Malenko neck hold. It's a combination of many neck holds, says Joey Styles.
It's all the neck holds in
all
one.
into one. Yeah, it's like you get that old NES cart back in the day that had 500 games in one cart. This is the neck holds of 500 neck holds all in one.
Yeah, and it's. I think Styles also describes it as being like some sort of like a bottle opener or taking like the top off a bottle or something. It's really like it's very bizarre, and Malenko once again sort of after the neck hold sort of falls to the floor and apparently damages Sendoff's neck so badly that it's once again about a 60-second match once we actually start.
Yeah, Malenko's got quite the torque there in his arms, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, I guess that's what happens when you apply all the neck holds at once.
So he does that to Dino, and then Jason gets in there, gives Dino an old axe kick to the back of the head, and then pretty much hits him with a jumping, falling knee and gets the pin.
Yeah, Jason just like the ultimate like heel who just is refusing to have any sort of fair wrestling match, and he pulls it off well. He's very good at being unlikable, and like once he even with coming to the ring and stuff, and then sort of having his belt and doing like sexy dancing, which you obviously know that ECW hardcore fans must hate.
Yeah, for sure. Can you imagine Baron Corbin back in ECW?
That's if Baron Corbin was back in ECW, he'd have done some really sexy dancing.
Coming out with the way he dresses and just the way he works, I could just imagine the heat he would get from back here, from the ECW crowd.
Well, yeah, my love for Baron Corbin is well documented. I think he'd be perfect in ECW.
So Dean Malenko gets in the ring and he's showing Jason how to apply this neck hold, trying to teach him how to apply this neck hold to Dino.
Yeah, it's he's just trying to be a helpful ally and do a bit of training. It's all very nice. It's not at all just like bullying this poor innocent wrestler in Dino Sendoff. But it doesn't last long because we have a big moment of the Tasmaniac appearing out of nowhere.
Yeah, I wish he was just Taz now, and it was not Tasmaniac, because it's still so odd to see him run to the ring. He's squaring off with Dean Malenko, and Taz is like the suplex machine, and he's a bit of like a shooter himself, but he's still got the Tasmaniac gimmick, even though it just says Taz in the back of his tights. He's still got the hair and the frilly like fur on himself, so it's like he's acting like and he kind of does this thing where he's like, kind of, if you notice, he bobs up and down like he's got this animal like stance where he just kind of like heaves up and down when he's just standing there. Yeah,
no, I definitely noticed that. It's odd because you can tell that we're coming to the end of the Tasmaniac as a gimmick, because you're just seeing more and more of it being just kind of brutal Taz, and he's kind of a badass, but there's still just that little bit of odd caveman mixed in there.
Yeah, it's a weird transitional period where we know he's like becoming, Taz that we all know, but he's still got that old gimmick that we're just dying to see him shed.
I mean, I do like the weird frilly caveman part of his outfit. I can't deny that that's something that I kind of hope sticks around longer than anything else. He can change the name, but if he just has the frill,
keeps the look but gets rid of the name.
Definitely. Well, I mean, you can also get rid of the hair if he wants. The hair's just a bit confusing. When you're so used to seeing Taz without the hair, it's an odd thing to get used to.
Yeah, ECW was a time of great hairdos, I tell you. Mullets and Taz's Jerry curl or whatever he's got going here, and some comb overs.
We do. We have all the best hair, all the best 90s hair. W.
Yeah. So Dean gets his patented armbar on Taz. Taz gets out and reverses it and puts him in a short arm of scissors. Styles is just freaking out on commentary, going nuts. Jason's just like kicking the shit out of Taz's like back and head as he's like trying to get Taz to let go of his arm scissors.
Yeah, this is crazy. This sort of felt like a pretty big, like chaotic moment where Taz was able to break out of this thing. It was obviously like it was sold as such a huge deal by Joey Styles, and it's it's kind of cool that alongside all the more hardcore stuff and more edgy stuff in ECW, you've even got things like a just like a submission hold being broken out of as an important moment of someone really breaking out as being a huge star, and yeah, Jason kicking him and Taz just not releasing was awesome. Like Taz was like, I'm breaking Malenko and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. So then a bunch of lower jobbers come out to separate these guys, and a big brawl breaks out inside the ring.
Yeah, it was kind of like it was a bit of a who's who of past episode jobbers. Yeah. We had Chris Kanyon in there for certain, I saw, and a few other people I recognised. But it kind of became this huge pull apart, which Taz kind of broke out of by just suplexing pretty much everyone.
Yeah, there's this one guy in there I could have swore they called Darby Allin.
Oh, that's really weird. It can't have been the Darby Allin that we are having in Fighter Fest in
right, because I know I heard that name and I'm like, man, I could swear I've heard that name somewhere before recently. And
the opponent of Cody Rhodes at Fighter Fest.
Right, so I'm like, oh, that's so weird, but I went back and watched it probably about 12 times to see if that was the name, and I think it's Donnie Allen, but so
it's like a it could be that it's like a weird homage.
It's long lost cousin or something.
Definitely.
Now, I've never seen Darby Allin. Does he not look like that guy?
Not that I've noticed.
Okay.
But, I think I'm not too familiar with Darby Allin either. He's more of like a American indie guy, and I kind of am more used to British indies in general. But there is more than a little chance that it's if not like someone who actually is related, just a weird homage to that.
For sure. But, I'm sure it's been 25 years, so if he's on the indies now still in 25 years, then it's probably not the same guy.
You wouldn't have thought so, but it's a huge comeback. It's kind of like PCO.
He's had a renaissance.
Definitely. Well, alongside all that, though, Taz just came across as being a badass here. Like this feels like we've got to be getting so close to the end of the Tasmaniac, because all of this segment was awesome. We had the breaking out, the not releasing, all the suplexes. Like Taz was just a star in this segment. Taz was just a monster and amazing, and his suplexes really are as good as it gets.
Yeah, I would have thought he comes out here, he's total badass, stands up to Dean Malenko, puts him in his own hold, and I would have thought the next time we see this guy, he's gonna come out now. He's got a new look, a new gimmick. He's just total badass. And well, I guess we'll see what happens next time. But
there can't be much longer left in the Tasmaniac. There just can't be.
Yeah, fast forward 2 years from now, and we're still watching this guy come out as the Tasmaniac.
Yep.
So he clears the ring, gives everybody a Taz flex, and does a good job, and that leads us into our next advert.
Yeah, I think we just had the back-to-back solar flex ads, the one where it's a man's body and a woman's body, the way they do it sort of separately, but in a row. Not much to talk about. You know what a solar flex advert is like at this point in the podcast. We've talked about them, about 10 times probably. So not too much to say. And then when we get back to the arena, Taz and Malenko are sort of still hanging around, but then nothing really happens.
Yeah, I think they were just showing the same replay from earlier.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if it was like a recap or if it was just them sort of saying the action's not quite cooled down yet.
Because it was just that one little clip of him reversing the armbar. And then we go right back into some more hotline clips. So I don't know if they messed up there, and it was kind of weird.
Yeah, it was odd. But the only thing that was left to happen now is our second video package of the night. And, it's been hyped for a while here on the show.
Yes, this was probably like one of the best video packages I've ever seen in my life. I mean, there's some fabled early 2000 video packages from WWE where they were with what was the song that Creed sings?
Oh, I know the one you mean, but I couldn't say.
Yeah, they had some a whole bunch of video packages in the early 2000s where Creed was doing the song "My Sacrifice."
Oh yeah, that's the one. You got it.
So this is kind of on that level, but it's simply the best. Shane Douglas.
Oh, it's amazing. Just how this is one of, also alongside that, this is one of the longest video packages I've ever seen.
It's literally the entire song just plays out here as we watch clips from Shane Douglas, and we get to see quite a bit of Shane Douglas here in these clips.
Yeah, it shows a lot of Shane Douglas. It makes Shane Douglas look kind of amazing. It's just all his best moments, but alongside that, it kind of, because it's so long, because it's to the song "Simply the Best," the Tina Turner classic. It does kind of it makes him also seem really arrogant. Like, he had a video package that was stupidly long. It obviously has the most ridiculous, over the top song to it, and then all the moments are just him have him doing cheesy cheering and to himself and holding up belts and stuff alongside doing all the moves, and it's just this whole self-serving arrogant video package, but it works so well for Douglas.
Yeah, I find it's weird, he's supposed to be the heel and stuff, but some of those clips, when he wrestles in some of those clips, he comes off as a really big baby face.
Yeah, definitely. It was weird. There were a few moments where you saw him in there with some wrestlers, or you saw him it looked like he was overcoming the odds against heels in certain situations and stuff, and it was very weird because he is so obviously arrogant, easy to dislike heel. Right. He's very charismatic with it.
Yeah, now we see him throwing a belt at Terry Funk in the backstage. We see him hitting people with chairs. I mean, he's definitely showing the heel side of him too, but
at one point he's choking someone with a bag inside a steel cage.
Yeah, he puts the bag over the guy's head, and it's trying to suffocate this guy. And I think it was Terry Funk who was doing it too.
Yeah, I didn't really get a good enough view. I just saw that there was someone who was, had a bag over the head pretty quickly.
Puts a burlap bag over their head, ties the string around the person's neck, and then it cuts away, and we're left to assume this guy's still alive.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, it was quite the scene there.
Yeah. But yeah, upon going through the full song, including a nice saxophone solo, which will help all the jazz fans of E.C.W. We basically have just seen all of Shane Douglas's best bits, I guess, at this point in time.
Yeah, and then it kind of just reminds us, of Shane's upcoming match for. It's pretty much just a great promo video for his upcoming match at a house show this weekend.
Totally, yeah. This is all. It's all led up to this match, and the ending of the song sort of playing over the whole card for these shows that's coming. So
we've got
it all sorted.
Then we roll back into another Soloflex ad. It's just we're gonna get our Soloflex counter up here. We're at number 6, number 7 tonight.
I think it is. I think it's number 6, and I wonder how many times we've seen Soloflex ads if we count every episode of this podcast.
Episode 5 of Guilty as Charged, and we've had 48 Soloflex ads so far.
Honestly, would not surprise me.
Yeah, no doubt.
But we do have one of our very few new adverts here in Nolan Ryan, the famous baseball pitcher I've definitely heard of. You can get a limited edition gold stamp of him.
Yes, it comes with a nice leather book showing all his stats here, and
And it's just a really big golden square with a picture of this baseball guy on, and
it's like a postcard.
It's incredibly weird. It costs, including postage, you're at $45, which just seems like kind of insanity for something that I can only assume isn't that much of an exciting collectible item if it was advertised during E.C.W. as just a thing you bought from a TV advert. But good stuff. All the sports content here. I mean, we proved how much we knew sports last week when we when we worked out that the 76ers were in fact
basketball. Yeah. The best part about this one was it was a gold stamp collection, $39.95 plus shipping and handling. But then it says also available with hand autographed postcard for an additional $60.
Damn, that's so much money to spend on something so stupid. And I mean, the fact that there was a version where you'd pay more to get something more impressive is ridiculous.
They want you to pay an extra $60, which is $20 more than what the original price was for a hand autographed postcard. So, but it's on sale because regular $80, but they're going to give it to you for $60. So
well, there you go then. With all the money we're saving.
Yeah. All of our podcast money we're going to pool together at the end of this show and go pick up this hand autographed postcard.
Yeah. We'll have been doing this for about 6 years or something by the time we get to the end of E.C.W. Yeah. And then for all our hard work, we will have a Nolan Ryan gold stamp plus autograph.
Yeah, well, I just have to, you can have it for a couple of weeks, I'll have it for a couple of weeks, and we'll share the love.
We'll ship it across from the UK, across the ocean. It'll be worth it every time.
Yeah, sounds good.
So and then our last advert is the Variety Club again, getting to see E.C.W. doing their usual charitable work, and always nice to see. Always one of the adverts where it's actually quite heartwarming, and it's nice to remember just how E.C.W. has some pretty good, nice parts to it as well.
Yeah, they definitely had some. They definitely stuck to their roots and did a lot for the Philadelphia area.
Yeah, it's really nice. I always appreciate that, and I always think it's nice to see that sort of philanthropy that's being done in a not particularly for a cynical reason you assume it is nowadays.
Yeah, we're looking at you, blood money.
Yes, we are.
So we come back here and we got this cool promo from the Public Enemy, and they. Do you recognize the song that he's saying the words to?
Hell yeah! I mean, it's like a jungle sometimes. It makes you wonder how we keep from going under. This was it was so weirdly intense and odd and kind of it's sometimes goofy, but just utterly bizarre.
They have a very it seems like, I don't know if it was just Heyman bringing out of these guys, but man, just seems like everybody or mostly everybody on this show cuts just such intense, passion-filled promos. They just all have it brought out of them. You see Cactus Jack and his promos, you see Dreamers, and it's just everybody in here just cuts these amazing promos, and it's they all can't be amazing promos. I don't know if it's just the way they're getting it brought out of them or what, but
yeah, I mean, you always hear about how Heyman would spend hours and hours with each person individually doing making sure that each promo was just perfect and playing to all the strengths and stuff, but I wasn't sort of, if that's the case here, I kind of wouldn't have assumed it would be happening yet, or I would have thought that would have been as ECW grew more and more as we were going further forward, but this was this felt too good to not have been rehearsed and sort of just like organized in a good way, because this was like, it felt really slick in everything they did. They sort of seemed like kind of like you could tell that they were a very sort of like well-connected tag team in how they were interacting with each other. They were kind of like, it was a little bit goofy because Public Enemy has sort of like an interesting goofy edge, but then it was also like very serious and kind of like almost a little bit scary. It was a really cool promo.
Yeah, it was almost like we were watching like a gang video, like a gang initiation. Like they're trying to like get people to come to their gang or something. The way it was set, the location, the way they were dressing.
Totally, and in the promo as well, they mentioned that they at some point have some sort of baseball bat match, which they say is like their speciality, which I thought was interesting because I don't think I've ever heard of a baseball bat match, and sounds like it works. It sounds like the sort of thing that some like real street thugs would be, particularly adept with.
Yeah, we'll definitely get. We won't get like Judy Bagwell on a pole matches, but we'll definitely get some odd matches coming up with some weird stipulations throughout our E.C.W. look.
Yeah, but yeah, this whole promo just made Public Enemy look like they're going to be, they're so determined to get back their tag titles.
Yeah,
and I believe they say that it finishes with them saying that they're naughty by nature and violent by design.
Yeah, I had that down too. They had a real good closing line there. Naughty by nature, violent by design. I don't know if that's their tagline, but it was pretty good.
It totally works. Really, just like awesome, to be honest. I really do like Public Enemy. They were a tag team I definitely heard the name of, but wasn't really prepared for them to be so good, because they're a lot of fun in the ring as well, but they're also just these like really believable characters of like two friends who are both pretty damn violent and also kind of have fun hurting people. It's interesting.
It's so weird. Like then we cut back to the ring where it's the Public Enemy going against Chris Canyon and Donnie Darby Allin, whatever we're gonna call him.
Yeah, I also don't have his name down. I just put Donnie something. So
yeah, so I think it's Donnie Allin. So it's weird how they have this gimmick where it's like they're always like dancing and like partying and having fun with the crowd, but yet then they flip a switch and they're so violent and so like aggressive. It's such a weird seeing them kind of like dance 1 second and hit the guy with a chair and then yell into the camera the next second.
It's sometimes I kind of forget that they're kind of supposed to be faces because they don't seem like they should be, but they kind of have to be because of how much they do dancing and play to the crowd and how much the crowd enjoy them just for their sheer physical nasty moves that they do to people and all the like big spots and stuff. But we had all sorts in this this sort of fairly short match. We had the like vertical suplex with a crossbody to the guy who was being suplexed. We had like chair shots. There was this like double stack of tables.
Yes, we had that. Was crazy. They had 2 tables stacked up ringside, and Rock does a front flip off the top rope to the outside through these 2 tables. And just destroys poor Darby Allin.
Yeah, it's that's the sort of thing where on any other wrestling show, the like main event would end with that spot, and it's just sort of sandwiched in the middle of everything. It's just a thing that happens.
This was like the opener of today's house show. It's like
it's just what we see here. It's crazy, but yeah, they absolutely brutalize these guys and finish it off with this like reverse DDT and then a big dive and then we get a quick dance to the Cabbage Patch because we all love doing the Cabbage Patch here.
Yeah, and there's Joey Styles says he was about to say someone call 911 once he got put through the table, but then he realized what happens when you call 911, so he stopped himself.
Yeah, I really like that. That's a nice touch, and it's kind of cool to think that's. And just that from that one little bit of commentary, that's sort of reminding you that there is this wrestler who, is a big deal and like reminding you of the roster who aren't even on this episode. It's like, It's a cool little thing that just happens.
Yeah, for sure. And we also had we've been lacking on the chants. We haven't had many chants in these last few episodes, but we've got a sign here that says the Public Enemy are the flavor of the 90s.
Which, I mean, sure, I guess that's certainly a statement you have made, person with a sign.
Yeah, so the Public Enemy are in here just, taking these guys apart. They get the win, and then they're just sitting there waiting for Cactus Jack to come out.
Yeah, and, then, oddly enough, Cactus Jack comes out, and, with Mikey, with poor 12-year-old Mikey Whipwreck.
Yeah, he's like literally dragging Mikey out of the backstage area, holding him by the waistband so he's not running away.
I really love that, but I couldn't. The only part of this show that like kind of felt like it was a little bit of a miss was just that in this promo with with Cactus Jack and the mic before they get in the ring, it's like super echoey, and I didn't really hear anything he was saying. I just saw Mikey trying to run away a lot.
Yeah, it was quite hard to hear here. He was just trying to convince Mikey to come in the ring. He's given him a decision. He can either go to the back right now, or he can come to the ring. And so he acts like he's about to go backstage, and then all of a sudden he just sprints to the ring. So he kind of gives him a choice, and Mikey just says, "Oh, fuck it, I'm gonna go to the ring."
It's kind of cool because Mikey Whipwreck sort of portrayed as this guy who is almost a little bit of a coward, or at least doesn't really want to have to be in this situation.
Right.
And then every time he like overcomes it and is like, no, I'm going to fight. I'm not going to be this guy who gives up on his partner and, he doesn't want to get involved, and he'll take on Public Enemy. Here, this about as threatening as it gets, really, for opponents you could have at this point in time. And yeah, we have, and then we just have this huge brawl where there are some really like big moments in this. Cactus Jack gets sort of taken over the barrier, and it's like really brutal. It looks like that could have like gone incredibly wrong, and we have a lot of like brawling near the bleachers and all sorts.
Yeah, they're just destroying Cactus with chair shots all over these bleachers. The fans are just like everywhere going crazy.
Yeah,
Mikey's all laid up in the ring because he got crotched on the ring post.
Yeah, and then as Cactus is sort of taking more and more of this beating, you have Mikey just like diving through everywhere with a chair and taking out both members and just being this like ultimate underdog, helping his teammate, and then Cactus puts a bin on one of Public Enemy's heads and like
the old trash can spot.
Hell yeah, and it's just like it's a lot of fun, fully chaotic. You have everything happening, and it just sort of slowly gets to the point where they finally brawl out of the arena, and it's just like, these two teams, when they actually have their full-on match, is going to be amazing.
Yeah, they do a good job of like brawling through the crowd, and then kind of they working their way back to the entranceway, which they kind of just brawl right through the entranceway.
Yeah, these two teams are great though. This is like, it's crazy because we're in this age nowadays as well. Because we have to bring it back to modern WWE every so often. Just to completely counteract how good this show is, and like think about how tag team wrestling at the moment in WWE is just as sort of bad as it gets. We have like no serious contenders and no feuds, and it's kind of like a bit of a miserable part of the show to watch, although most of the show isn't great to watch. And then like we're here in 1994 ECW, and have been watching for about 5 episodes, and they have this tag feud between these two teams, like this unlikely matchup of two guys who have ended up becoming the champions, and then Public Enemy, this great like double act. And like, this is a great feud. I enjoy seeing this every single week. These two teams mesh well together. They like can have these really cool like hardcore spots and brawl everywhere, and like, this is such a great feud that we're getting to see unfold. And like, it's not taken a lot of build, and it's not needed to, simmer over months and months. We've just happened to be watching it and, jumped into the promotion at this time. And like, I can't really imagine a tag feud being much better than this right now. Like, this is one of the highlights of the show for me.
Yeah, for sure. They do such a great job of storytelling and getting you invested in that. Like you said, in the little amount of time we watched, getting you invested in these characters and seeing like how hard it is for Mikey to go to the ring and do stuff, but yet he's got a partner there, and he just has to do it. He has to go to the ring and does what he has to do to help his partner out, to keep his belts, and yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, and like everyone's just got such a clear character as well. Like it's you've got Cactus Jack, who's this intense guy you will do anything and is like has had like really hardcore matches everywhere. You've got Public Enemy as just these brutish, like kind of heelish like villains, I guess. And, and then you've got Mikey, who's just this like reluctant underdog who's doing a great job. And no, this is great, and I'm really glad we've got to see it. We do have a little bit more from these guys before the end of the episode, but yeah, just a quick moment to say this is a great feud and this is good tag team wrestling.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely looking forward to their tag match coming up.
Totally. But before that, and before any more wrestling content, we do have some very familiar adverts. The Fords haven't gone yet, and you know what? Pawnbrokers will give you a loan, even a small loan, and you can trust them.
Yeah, I like this, and it was like, a guy came in the bank looking for a $500 loan. We told him to fuck off and go somewhere else.
Yeah, but don't worry, there's a pawnbroker who's really trustworthy, and actually, this is an advert for them.
Yeah, it's so odd, man, the way they have the ads set up here.
Yeah, I think that is the best thing about the ads. They're so oddly designed that you can't really, like, it's hard to understand what anyone was thinking.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but still just ads that we've seen before so far. So we don't have to spend too long on them, as much as they are amusing and still continue to be amusing.
Yeah, it's okay. We'll get some fresh new ads soon.
Hell yeah! I mean, we do have one new ad left to come, so it's not all bad. And speaking of fresh and new things, we also have the completely unexpected matchup of our Japanese star Nishimura taking on Chris Benoit.
Yeah, we have a come back here to the match, and we have a Benoit versus Nishimura match, and it's a real like technical and groundwork match, and it's pretty good.
Yeah, like these two are just like, you can tell these two are just great wrestlers that are kind of ahead of the curve in terms of what you see in 1994 wrestling in most of the big companies. And yeah, we have the technical exchanges. You've got Nishimura, who does some great things like top rope drop kicks and like really like impactful looking drop kicks to the corners. There's like a power bomb, but Benoit is able to get the victory in the end with like this really like fast and impressive look, an impactful looking like belly to belly like bridging pin.
Yeah, it's he's got a really good snap belly to belly that he does before he bridges into the pin, which looks really good.
It does. It's like, it's one of those moves where it's just so quick that you can't imagine it being anything other than brutally painful.
Yeah, for sure. And this is all like just promoting, getting Benoit ready for his upcoming matches. He's got to take on Taz on Friday night and Sabu on Saturday night. So he's got his work cut out for him this weekend.
Yeah, he really does. I don't know how well he's going to do that.
So he picks up the win here, and then we got to Paulie dangerously on the stairs cutting a promo.
And this is absolute classic. This is what we were talking about on some of our earlier episodes when we had a bit more of like full Paulie promos, and this is Paulie this time talking about one of his other talents that I guess he manages in Sabu, and it's like this really intense promo about how he's always worried about the moment that Sabu's going to go too far and end up crashing and burning, and that it's like that watching Sabu's like watching a car crash, and you know that at some point he's going to like basically end up killing himself, and then he sort of gets to this point where he builds to talking about how Cactus Jack's like the only other person that was supposed to be as homicidal and genocidal, and then they were able to prove him wrong when Sabu won, and it's like even more hardcore than Cactus Jack, and then they've got this hardcore rematch coming up soon, because I think that's his first match, and then the night after he has to wrestle Benoit at these coming up shows, and then they're talking about how Sabu and Benoit have like are both these great wrestlers, and Sabu's obsessed with Benoit because he's like, he knows he's just this amazing technical guy and he wants to do anything to win, and like this whole thing is just like incredible. This is as perfect as wrestling promos get.
Yeah, it was really good, man. He went through the whole gamut of like putting over Sabu and like his flying through the air and doing what it takes to win, and the scars on his body and just laying his body on the line, and how long it's going to last, and you know, putting over his match with Cactus Jack and how that's like the rematch of the century, and then you know, going in and putting over Benoit and what how he's been trained in his match with Sabu. Like, he just crafts this like master story of like these 3 or 4 guys that are going to be wrestling together, and just weaves together this story of like their history and like what they're going to be going through against each other and all the story between them. He just does such a great job.
Yeah, and in this 3-minute or so promo, he manages to make you excited about these 2 matches that you're going to get to see soon. He manages to get these 3 like talents that he's talking about in Sabu, Cactus Jack, and Chris Benoit. He manages to make them seem like even more exciting than they were before, and put them over as being even more impressive than you thought they were before. Like, this is just like, this has done, basically this one promo did like wonders for the image of 3 wrestlers, and it made you hyped up for 2 matches, and it's like, it's insane to think that someone could do such a good job of, you know, doing this believable and intense promo about Sabu and his, you know, and how he wants to beat all these guys, and how he's like, he'll do anything to win, even if it ends up being his last moment in wrestling, and just like incredible stuff. Really, really like ridiculous. If you could have a promo like this, or like, you know, every month or so in any wrestling company, you'd just have all your stars ending up being, you know, like absolute megastars that your entire crowd was, you know, entirely over with them, because it's just, when you have that level of talent and you're able to craft something so masterfully, you can't help but be excited for everything that's yet to come. Yeah,
for sure, man. There's a reason why you talk to anybody and they'll name Heyman as one of the top 5 promos ever, because he cuts such a passion-filled promo. It's hard to deny his skill as a promo man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you cut back to even nowadays, and like when he cuts a promo to do with Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar's not necessarily this guy who's that interesting because he doesn't show up that often, right. And you know that he's like, you know, he's just sort of there to get his paycheck and leave, and all that sort of stuff. But like, Heyman can still manage to make that interesting, and that's, you know, when it's all scripted for him as well. So sort of going back in time now to 1994 and just seeing how, I mean, if anything, he's better here, and you know, we've got a lot of years more to come of him. So like, I can only assume that we're going to get more ridiculously perfect Paul Heyman promos, and I'm just going to continue to be impressed with how he is sort of the best promo maybe ever in wrestling.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, like, he cuts these amazing promos now, and we all know about, I'm sure he's got a little bit of leeway, but how the structure works there in WWE, and just, I'm sure there's things he can't say, or there's like only certain time limits he can go through. But back here, it's like he's totally unhinged. He's totally like unshackled. He can just like, you know, cut his promos his way and take the time he needs to make them however he wants to make them. And it shows that how long they are and how passion filled they are.
Totally. But yeah, an absolute joy to watch, an absolute master class in like promos. Like, I feel like anyone who ever wants to be good at, doing promos in wrestling has to watch these. Anyone who basically just wants to be good at public speaking or just getting across emotion in anything they do should watch these. They're just like, they're so incredible. And I can only assume we're going to have this for, months at a time and see so many more of these, and like this one will become like a distant memory, and then there'll be even more epic ones that we'll think of soon and get to see.
Yeah, like just think, of all the people who come and go in ECW, but Heyman's always there, so we'll get some promos in the ring and the live crowd, and just we'll have lots of magic coming up.
Nice. That's what I like to hear. But yeah, this sort of leads into, after all this talk about Sabu, we get our third big video package of the night, which is Sabu doing his usual Sabu things, which is doing flips that look totally out of control and terrifying.
I know, like every time this guy does a moonsault or a flip, it's like it makes it look like he's like broke his leg. I swear he clutches his leg after every single flip.
Yeah, and it's always so believable that he'd have hurt himself, because it doesn't look like he has any semblance of control when he does any of them. Yeah,
they're totally crazy. Like there's one clip here, he moonsaults off a top rope into a table. It doesn't look like there's anybody on it. They don't show anybody moving or getting off. And he just crashes through his table and just automatically holds his leg like he just got a piece of wood through it or something.
It's totally ridiculous, but we see you see him do some moves where he hits people. You see him do some moves where he doesn't. And, I mean, Sabu's one of these characters where you're not really going to get anything like Sabu again in wrestling, because he was obviously just this guy who had very little respect for his own health, and I mean, I think I'll try to be kind in how I put it, but I don't think he was necessarily the most crisp and technical high flyer of in wrestling, and it's just sort of this guy who throws his body around, and it's kind of terrifying, and I imagine it hurt a lot to wrestle in Sabu's style.
Yeah, I'm sure he's paying for it these days.
Oh, definitely. Well, like, you can go out there and like search online, and you'll be able to find like episodes of Botchamania just dedicated to Sabu, like doing things that are crazy and like looking like he could really hurt himself and missing moves, and just things that go wrong. And things always go wrong in wrestling, and that's normal. That's like a normal part of wrestling, but things go wrong a little bit more when the Sabu's involved.
Yeah, he definitely seems like he has a pretty loose style when it comes to his high flying. Like he just climbs to the top and just jumps and doesn't have that crispness like some of the other people do.
Yeah, but I mean, regardless of that, it kind of ends up fitting his character, and he's still very fun to watch in a sort of terrifying manner, and it like weirdly works for him. And if he's willing to do that and just sort of do these huge crazy moves, more power to him, right?
Yeah, he's like a human car crash just waiting to happen, just like Heyman said.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a great video package. I would go out and watch that one. It's got the Ozzy Osbourne "No More Tears" song behind it.
Yeah, like all three of the video packages on this show were just like incredible. They really built these three wrestlers as just being these guys who you just really need to see what they're going to do next. And I mean, it's cool that Sabu got one as well, because we actually haven't seen him other than like in a couple of little highlights here and there. Like he's not been a part of the show yet, so it's kind of cool to see that he's coming now. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's three great video packages here on this one episode, so it's quite the good stuff here. Then we cut back to Cactus Jack promo. Him and Mikey Whipwrecker cutting a promo, and he has this good couple lines about talking about his face and all the history that his face has gone through, and all the people who have like came across him in his wrestling career. And he's saying look at his face, and the A to Z history of professional wrestling is written all across his face. And he starts naming like all these people who were mad at him, like Sting was mad at him, and
Mikey chips up and says, "Oh yeah, he knocked your teeth out." And then Jack says, "Yeah, Vader was mad at me." And then Mikey's like, "Oh, he ripped your ear off." And Cactus Jack's like, "Yeah, now Public Enemy is mad at us." And he's telling him, "Oh, put your money where your mouth is. And put a mark on my face, or go back to the streets where you belong." So he cuts a really good promo here and kind of lays it out like, "Hey, you guys got to step up and show us that you're willing to take these belts or back off."
Totally, like they do. It's a really good job of just showing that, like, Cactus Jack has been in so many situations where he's done so many awesome things. It obviously just shows him as being this badass who's never gonna back down. He's gonna do all these, crazy things going forward. And then alongside that, you've got Mikey, who's just like, "Oh God." And he ripped your ear off, and like, "Oh God, and I've got to wrestle now with you," and just terrified. And like, Mikey's like really, really good at coming across as this like terrified child, basically. And
his facial animations are amazing.
Totally, he's really great, and this was a really cool promo. Like, it was a really innovative way of doing it, talking about all the people who have like left marks on him and calling his face like the A to Z of wrestling, and like, it was really cool. And once again, like, he's putting over Public Enemy, talking about how like the titles haven't made either of them great, but Public Enemy are great, and like, how big a deal it is that they're gonna have to take them on, but that Public Enemy are gonna have to like step up and really like do something to keep him down. It's really cool. It builds once again this great feud, and I've already talked about how much I love it.
Yeah, it's such a great feud, and I love the dynamic between these two guys. Like, you see odd pairings like all the time, but the way these guys play off each other, and the way like Cactus is like this grizzled veteran, he's got like the passion, he's been around the block, and he's just cutting these promos. And then you've got Mikey there, and he's got that like that rookie look on his face, and he's just got that scared look, but yet they just, for some reason, they go together like so good. They make such a good team.
Totally. Like, it's weird because we've literally seen these two guys from their inception on the show. Like, they've not been a team for a long time, and they've not like worked together much, but they're just like this perfect pairing. And then to have them facing off against this team that are so like well established as being these like real tough guys, it's so cool.
Yeah, for sure. So that's it for our video package here, and then our promo, and then we cut to Sandman outside having a smoke. And he says, "E.C.W. is politically incorrect, and we're damn proud of it."
And this was perfectly followed by an advert with like for a home PC with a guy who I've written down as looking like a nerdier Louis Theroux. And it's just like, it's the perfect way to end this episode, and to like perfectly encapsulate what happens, how like these ECW episodes feel to me, in that we have so many like weird, like over the top badass things, like Sandman just talking about how politically incorrect they are, and like smoking and stuff, and then straight into like the most ridiculous, stupid 90s advert of like CD-ROMs, multimedia,
games.
Yeah. Get your home PC guide here with this like incredibly nerdy man, like literally like only seconds after the Sandman has finished smoking and talking about how politically incorrect ECW are.
Yeah, it was pretty good timing.
Yeah. So that's this episode, and what a way to finish it off.
Yeah, so like I'll just give a quick rundown here. So this leads into the Friday night show, which is Sabu versus Cactus Jack. We have 911 versus Mr. Hughes, which was Shane Douglas's bodyguard.
Oh yeah.
We have Jason versus Mikey Whipwreck, and that's Mikey used to have the TV title, so that was kind of like a rematch for them. Mm-hmm. We have Doink, Born Again versus Too Cold Scorpio.
Yep.
We have Benoit versus Taz. And an appearance by Shane Douglas.
What a ridiculous first night that is. Like, that's the supposed to be less exciting of the two nights.
Like, these are our lesser of the two house shows to come to your town this weekend.
That's like, I want to watch every one of those matches. Like, it's crazy.
I know, and then if you think it couldn't get any better, the very next night we have Shane Douglas versus Too Cold Scorpio for the E.C.W. World Heavyweight Championship. Sabu versus Benoit. Cactus Jack and Mikey versus the Public Enemy for the tag belts. And we get Sandman versus Dreamer in the I Quit match.
Like, either of those two nights, like, I would watch as a full, like, special super show pay-per-view, however they wanted to do it. Like, it's hard to imagine them stacking shows any better than that. And these are just the shows that happen to be coming up next. And, like, there are some matchups that seem weirder in there and some, like, talents that you might not be expecting, like seeing a bit more of Doink again and stuff like that. But, like, it's so cool that, like, you've got all these stories building up and, like, they flow into each other really well in, like, Too Cold Scorpio and Doink being, like, him having to battle the henchman before taking on the actual champion. And so, like, all these matches look great. The only thing I'm slightly sad about is that I'm not certain how much of every one of these matches we're going to get to see. I feel like we're going to have to get clips of some of them because they're only going to have more shows again soon.
You're right. So, like, hopefully we'll get some, at least the I Quit match or the tag match, or I could go through the list here. It's like I want to see all these matches.
Definitely, like, because you go through even the ones that are sort of less important storyline wise, but, like, I want to see Sabu and Cactus Jack.
Yeah, exactly.
That sounds great.
Yeah, and I want to see Sabu versus Benoit because
totally, there are all these matches. I want to make sure that we get to see the Taz match and, like,
it's crazy.
There's kind of stuff here. Like, I also want to see Mikey get his TV title rematch against Jason. That would be awesome. Like, we can just sit here and go through all of them and talk about what we're excited about, but we'll just be recounting the entire card.
Yeah,
again.
For sure. So that leads us into next week's episode, and it's the October 1st. Well, it's not the October 1st episode, but hopefully we'll get some info from the October 1st shows. And let's just say that this episode, the only thing I'll tell you about this episode is it goes live from the hospital.
Oh, I like that.
So,
that sounds exciting.
I won't tell you any matches. I won't tell you any promos. All I'll tell you is that we're going straight live and straight from the hospital. So,
wow, I usually get a little bit of a teaser of what's to come on an episode, but this is very mysterious. I love it. This is some real exciting stuff coming next week, I guess.
So it could be good, it could be bad. Somebody could be giving birth. Somebody could be dead. Who knows?
I mean, I'm gonna guess it's more on the injury side than that we are going to watch a birth. That would be weird.
I would say so. Considering the only girl we saw so far is a woman, and she didn't look pregnant. So
it's true. Yeah, I don't see that being the way this goes. But damn, yeah, that's gonna be cool.
Yeah, it looks good for next episode. I'm looking forward to seeing some of those matches or some clips or something.
Yeah, totally. I'm fully with you there. That's going to be fun. I guess we'll see what happens next week. But before we finish our episode, we do have to pick, and there's not many people to pick from this week, but we have to pick an oddball of the week, and I think it's an obvious one.
Oh, I'm pretty sure we're both going with the hairstyle to rule them all.
Hack Myers makes it into the oddball Hall of Fame here.
Yeah, the comb over champion himself, Hack Myers.
Yeah, there was no one else on this show that was odd enough to even come close. So I'm glad Hack Myers came along to really show what E.C.W. was all about, and that is really weird characters with insane 90s hair. I don't even know if this was 90s hair. I think this was just bizarre, never before seen hair.
I don't know what that style was, but it was definitely not a style.
Yeah, I don't think there's a single person who could describe that style as being, an actual look. To like
No.
describing that to a hairdresser, like you'd have to spend a good 5 minutes before you got that cut.
No, you'll have to. Everybody will have to come to the Guilty as Charged Twitter account, and we'll have a picture up of Hack Myers just so you can see the beauty of this guy's haircut.
Definitely, I think that's a grand idea. I was also thinking of adding one more thing to the show this week. I think if we're going to have an oddball of the week, we should also just have like an overall wrestler or team of the week that's like, you know, the serious one because there are also good wrestlers.
Fair enough.
I mean, there's quite a lot of people you could pick from this week, especially if you count packages. But for me, my wrestler or wrestlers of the week this week are I'm going for Public Enemy.
Yeah, I would agree. Between that promo and the match and the brawling, yeah, I would have to totally agree with you.
Because they're just great, and I love Public Enemy, and I just always want to see more of them. And I mean, it's easy to also think of Cactus and Mikey as being this fun team, but I do think Public Enemy are holding it all together as well by being this just like great unit.
Yeah, they definitely have a good team to work against in Cactus and Mikey for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, all in agreement this week on what the best things were, and that is Hack Myers and you know, his amazing hair, and Public Enemy and their amazing wrestling.
Yeah, fair enough. It's a good quality episode there.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot.
All right, man. Why don't you throw some plugs out here for the people?
Of course. So you can follow me on Twitter at FishChipsWhips, where I will post all sorts of nonsense, you know, that is probably not worth most people's time, but I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Alongside that, you can come and join me on Twitch at chips_games, which I also advertise on my Twitter, but that's where I go and play games. I've been a little light on the content recently, but stay tuned. There's some good stuff coming. I'm filming something tomorrow that's very interesting, and that'll get posted on Twitter, and that's something that's maybe stupider than anything else you'll have seen that day. So, you know, look forward to that. I promise only to do the stupidest of things. Alongside that, I'm about to go and edit our sister podcast, Drops, Dives, and Death Matches, which where me and John Dinsdale talk about some modern wrestling stuff, be it WWE, New Japan, or something Indian exciting. So, yeah, head on over there. We have a bit of a mini episode this week. Didn't really have a chance to watch too many things, but it should still be a lot of fun. So, yeah, go catch us there too. How about you? Do you have anything exciting to plug, or just the usual stuff for you?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the new episode of Drops, Dives, and Death Matches for sure. And
nice. Yeah, it should be a fun one.
And you can check out, you can check me out on the Grand Line, my anime podcast. We just recorded that earlier tonight, so that'll be going up in the morning. Actually, it's up right now, actually.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, that's it for me. You can check me out on Twitter and Twitch as well, DreadnautX. And all our descriptions will be in all our podcast links and Twitch links and all our stuff will be in the description below for all you fine people to check out.
Yeah, you do a good job of having like all the links everywhere. I need to do better at that for the other podcast, but yeah, I always think that's a nice thing to see. It makes everything a little bit easier.
Yeah, and wherever you got your Drops, Dives, if you send me that link, I'll add it to the description too, so people can quickly have a quick way to get at it.
Hey, sounds good to me.
All right, let's get out of here, and yeah, we'll see everybody next week.
Sure thing. See you later.
All right, later. Ladies and gentlemen, you can find the show on all your favorite podcast apps: Google Play, iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, and Spotify. Just search Guilty as Charged. If you want to send us a comment, question, feel free to email us at GuiltyasChargedPodcast@hotmail.com. You can also check out the show over on Twitter, Guilty as Podcast. You can also follow Chips and myself on Twitter and Twitch, and all those links will be in the podcast description below. Have a good night, everybody.
E.C.W, we're gonna give you the most bang for your buck. We're gonna break every effing rule in the business. And for that, I promise you, we are guilty as charged.